All right, guys, welcome into this week's episode of the RMR Training Podcast. It's your boy, Ryan Kent, and I'm joined by 1/3 of the RMR team, Meg Jacoby. The other third.
Two-thirds.
Yes, we have 2/3.
Yikes,
the missing third, Mr. Rich Ryan. He's on paternity leave. I did not know
he had a baby, guys.
I didn't know we had paternity leave here at RMR, but apparently we do, and he's on it.
It's good to know. I mean, I'm a woman, so is this paid? What's happening here?
Baby.
She is
brand
1
new.
week. She's a brand new. Actually, she's not even a week yet. She's a brand new little baby, named Scotty. So now I got my little, the Scotty to MJ. Here we go. This is my little. I'm gonna just tuck her right under the little bow here. We're gonna make her a HYROX world champ someday. Bought her a sled. A baby walker sled. That was my gift to Rich. So, Auntie Meg's my daughter's a dancer, so she's like, nope, not into that running thing. So I gotta get in on the niece.
Well, I've just got a 10-week-old boy.
Oh, you do?
Congrats.
My latest edition, yeah.
Very nice.
Congrats, man.
You have a few kids, right?
I've got 2 girls, 12 and 9, and then a 10-week-old boy. Yeah.
Wow.
Good fun.
Nice.
Let's go.
There you go.
I got a baby girl. She's almost 8 months now. So, Meg, you better step your game up.
Yeah, I got to win a couple more titles. It's a little hard when you're the one who has to carry the human and you're the pro athlete. It's a little tricky.
That's true. Well, guys, we have a very special guest with us today. There's no other way to say it other than he's an ERG monster, an ERG specialist, an ERG record holder. I think this guy is the first person or one of 2 people to break 6 minutes in both the SkiErg and the rower. Has a 1K PR on the ski of a 240, I believe.
Jesus.
And if I ever ski a 240 in a HYROX race, ain't nobody catching me. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, because you're out of
I'm gone.
You're done. You're dead. You're actually being carried off you're carried out of the venue.
But we have James Hall with us today, coming to us all the way from Australia. I believe it is 7 a.m. your time.
7.
So, dude, we appreciate you joining us. I know the time difference isn't ideal, but yeah, man, we're glad to have you here.
Thanks. Thank you. Yeah. No, I've been up since 4:30. I run a gym, and I was coaching this morning. So I've had my coffee, and I'm all good to chat. That's all good.
All right, man. Well,
awesome. Well, basically, James, some of this convo with you has been triggered by my disapproval of how much poor information I see being put out on the internet. That is very hard because in the coaching space, which we are also in, I feel like I'm constantly fighting the battle of misinformation. And I feel like that's become half of my job, is just trying to navigate my clients through the baloney. And so we want to hear the true facts, the stats, where we should be, especially because I also think for men and women often think that they shouldn't be doing the same stroke rate as men or dampers as men, etc. And I want to kind of go through the myths of the ERGs and specifically towards HYROX and how you would approach that. So why don't we start with kind of the ideal damper, the ideal stroke rate when we're doing like HYROX ERG training? Yeah,
you're certainly correct. There's a lot of kind of copy and paste going on in the influencer HYROX coach scene. So it's like someone will see a reel that's caught and then they'll just completely copy it and put their own spin on. And the information usually isn't great. The typical one is where someone will put a video of them doing an SPM of around 30, which will be slow for a SkiErg. So they'll be doing long, heavy strokes, and then say they're holding like a 150 pace, and then they'll do them at 60 RPM, holding a 150 pace. And then logic will say, that me doing 30 SPM is going to be more efficient than me doing 60 SPM. But in my opinion, neither are right, because at 30 SPM, you're having to heave that machine quite aggressively, which is taking a lot of muscular fatigue out of you. And also, the second part of that is that the fan will then stop. It will not literally stop, but it's slow. So every time you come to take a stroke, you're overcoming the inertia of a heavy fan. And on the right, it's just far too frantic to go 60. Your heart rate will blow up. If out of the two, I'd actually favor the 60, but everyone's saying, oh, let's do 30. Where in fact, a great cadence is in the 40s. Now, everything that I will ever say online, I'm welcome to be challenged and say, okay, what's your rationale? And because as a coach, you need to have a rationale, okay? Even if you're not correct, okay? But what I do is I then look at what's out there. So one of the best practices we can look at is the world's best times and cross-country skiing. Yeah. So if we take the world record for a marathon, which is 41K. Hope that's right. Maybe it's 42. We
don't know kilometers over here.
We're like miles or.
But 62. It's 26 miles. Whatever.
Yeah.
And so the world record is held by a cross-country skier, and he's holding a 47 strokes per minute. And he's really short, and he's only hitting about a third of the length of the SkiErg.
Interesting.
And he's holding a 145. Now, the Elite 15 are holding a 145. So the biggest argument is that if he can hold a 145 for 2 hours and 28 minutes at 47 SPM, I think that a HYROX are doing it for 3.5 minutes should be able to hold the same. Because yes, you've got to go on and do other things, but if you've got to think of the logic of the cross-country of the marathon record holder. He is trying to be as efficient as possible for 2 hours and 28 minutes. So if being efficient was taking big, long, slow strokes, why would he not do that?
Right.
That's the whole point, really. So you just take that into HYROX. You hold it. You're staying aerobic. You want to keep the flywheel moving, and without becoming frantic, that usually sits somewhere in the 40s. Okay. Mm-hmm. Drag factor, you want to be. The key thing is it is individual, but what you look at.
Can you explain what that is real quick for the listeners? What that is?
Yeah. So the drag factor is where the damper's set. It's basically a metric that goes into the machine. So if you have it on 10, it means you've got more drag. Basically, more air is going into the machine, and therefore it's harder to overcome the fan, and it's also going to slow quicker because the air will slow it down. So there's no right or wrong drag. It just depends on what you're doing and how you're doing it as to what drag. So if I was going for a 100-meter max sprint, I would have max drag because I'm never going to go. I'm going to stay anaerobic. I don't need to worry about having to go on and make it efficient because it's over in 12 seconds. Okay. But I could watch someone subjectively just from experience, and I can just tell their drag's too high by how they're leveraging through the resistance. So the equation of force, which is what you're producing on the machine, you actually get what's called a force curve. It's force times length. So how much force you're putting in times how long you've been on the machine for, like the length of the cord, over how many times per minute. And that gives you your output. So if it's too heavy, basically, you're not going to be able to put much force in. Force is mass times acceleration. So if you're getting through the resistance slowly, I look very overexposed here. Let me see.
You're getting brighter.
Yeah. If you're getting through the resistance slowly, it's going to negatively affect the force curve, because if you're not only is that negatively affecting what you're trying to do, but it also means that because you're top to bottom, it's taking longer. It means you're on the resistance more. So it's more fatiguing. So you actually just want to get through the resistance with good force. And if that means bringing the drag factor right down so you can achieve that nice punchy leverage through the machine, that's what you need to do. So typically for most HYROXers, or most people, for blokes, you want to be no more than about a five or six is plenty. Some people might need to go to 4 to achieve what we're trying to do. And for ladies, it could be as low as 1 or 2. Because say if a lady puts it up on 5 and she's 50 kilos and 5'4", at 5 might take her a good while to get through that resistance. And if you're not getting through the resistance quick enough, what happens is the fan never goes fast enough. So you need the fan to go over speed. So it then, once you've left the effort, it carries on running for you. So if you're only ever getting like a little bit of force, it's going to go woo, and then straight back down. You want that fan to go whoosh and then whoosh. So you've got to keep tapping the fan along. So drag factor is important, and therefore stroke rate is important, because you don't want that fan to come too down. You just want to tap, 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 tap. And if you want to go faster, tap a bit harder or a bit faster. If you want to go slower, less pressure, but you still need those rules of thumb to make it work and make it efficient. There's plenty more in there. Obviously, how are you going to leverage through it is important. Loads of little caveats around how you're leveraging is going to be important.
So when you were looking at the ski, are you even paying attention to your 500 meter pace, or are you staring at your strokes per minute like all the time?
No, because what my things, like the things I enjoy are 1,000 meters, 2K. I've got the world record on the 1,000 meters. I've got the world record on the 2K. What's obviously most important to me is to make the per 500 pace work. But over experience, I just know that my 2K pace is around 46, 47 SPM. And from experience, Meg, your 2K pace should also be 46, 47.
Yes.
Just because I'm just coming through with more force. You're coming through, but the ratio of work to rest should still be exactly the same. It's just that you're coming through with more force, basically, less force. So I do keep an eye on just the pace, but the SPM will naturally fall where I want it to be. But I've also got what I've found is over time is there's never a pace. So if I'm doing, say, some zone 2 work or some longer kind of time on the machine, I usually find that you would never be a case to go less than 40. Because then the machine will slow. It slows naturally at 40, and therefore I'm losing rhythm. If I'm losing rhythm, I'm not really training how I'm going to compete. So it's not useful for me. It's not useful for me to hit it at 36 and then wait for the fan to slow down. It doesn't aid one.
So even when you're doing zone 2 work, you're still hitting 40 plus SPM.
I'll just hit it nice and lightly, and just come through, staying upright, hit it less intensity through it, but I'll hit the same region of the length, which is the most powerful. But I'll just come through with less pressure. And actually, because I'm coming through slower, my cadence will actually increase. My recovery time will decrease slightly because I'm coming through the resistance. So it's all an algorithm of wanting to hit the fan before it slows down, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Is there value in training at a higher damper? Because I assume at HYROX, I usually ski at a 6, and if you think that's probably too high, feel free to tell me.
I think 6 is the upper limit.
Okay.
So like an argument could be, train heavy, compete light. I don't favor that. It's not something I would invest time in. I think you want to experience what you're going to be doing on game day. So so everything just feels natural. And then you're into, because you might get there and think, oh, this feels light, and you might overgas yourself because, oh, I felt great, but then you leave the run and you've gone too hard, you know?
Yeah, definitely. When you're talking about what metrics to use for HYROX specifically, like what testing to do to kind of figure out what pace you would want to be at, what would you recommend? I've always recommended the 5K. About 95% of 5K is usually what I recommend to my clients. But if you have any other, because people do 2K plus blah, 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 but it's a little bit of guesswork still. And so that's where I kind of like having a definitive number personally. So,
I've been, when you enter erging, it is like a language that you have to get used to. There's back in when I entered and way before me, there's been forums and there's teams that you can enter what's called a C2C, a cross team challenge. So all over the world, you could be anywhere and you could be part of a group that you go and enter. If you go to C2C, cross team challenge erging, there's like online, and then they've got forums, and then now there's the social media culture, and the ergo world's very niche, but they all kind of know each other. Everyone knows each other. So but in the erging world, everything works off 2K plus, as you said. So if I was doing a 5K kind of paced piece, I would recommend 2K plus 8. If I was doing a 10K paced piece, I would recommend somewhere in the region of 2K plus 12.
Okay.
So HYROX is obviously a aerobic dominant sport. So therefore you want to stay aerobic, which is more gearing towards your 5K, 10K pace. So if I said 5K is plus 8, 10K is plus 12, you probably want to be sitting around the plus 10 mark. So that 5K, 95% of 5K is probably pretty accurate. Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I've been prescribing the athletes I work with.
Let's go.
Well, that's good. So without ever talking about this, we're kind of sitting at the same metrics. So worryingly for me, if I started taking HYROX seriously, that would mean I've got to hold a 139.
Barf.
Yeah.
But that's because you're so good at this.
Yeah.
And hey, James, believe it or not, dude, we have guys, and I've done this myself. Yes. We have guys in the Elite 15 that are skiing sub 140 pace to start the race.
Yeah.
It's not a fun way to start.
It's not a great way to start, but it happens more often than you think. And in my mind, I'm like, what are we doing here? You know, like there's so much more race to go. But
I think what is the average Elite 15 male time? Is it about 3:30 pace?
I would say, honestly, most of the guys are sub 145 per 500 in the Elite 15.
Okay. Yeah.
Which again
so that will put their 2K around about a 6.0. So say they went.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think it matches what their 2K.
No,
I think they're
so it's faster. Yeah.
But
most of them should be able to go about a 6:30, a 6:20, which is 135 pace. So if they're plus 10 there, that's 145. But say Hunter should be able to produce like a 133, 132 on a given day. So it's probably not far off for those guys. Actually.
Yeah.
The powerful guys.
That's a good point.
You've got the obviously more the guys that look more like endurance athletes, like like Tim and the hybrid raccoon, and they're probably more in the 145s, 146s.
Yeah.
But you'd think the bigger guys
should
like
be
Hunter,
maybe.
Yeah, the bigger guys like Hunter will probably attack that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're naturally going to end up talking more about the ski today than the row.
Well, I think to your point, not to interrupt you, but I think the ski is where we have the most problems. And it was also from the form perspective. I think there's a lot of not understanding the range. And I've been kind of teaching my clients the cheek to cheek rule. We shouldn't be pulling below our knees. This is super inefficient. The fan is not moving more here. We're just losing
I've got a fantastic visual that I can just, since you've just mentioned that, I don't know if sharing the screen can be a thing.
Sure. You should be able to. If not, let me know. And
yeah, okay. I'll just touch on this, then see where we go. Now, just tell me, this has come up for you, hasn't it? This SkiErg.
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, I run a ERG masterclass. So I started this before HYROX became huge, because I've got the world record in the 1K ski, and for about 3 years I held the 1K world record for the 1K row. So they're both almost identical times at about 2:39, 2:40. So a 1:19 pace, a 1:20 pace. So it was good marketing because I got the 1K and the 1K. So I kind of leveraged that. Obviously, to do that, I couldn't just wing it. It took a lot of deliberate training, and obviously I had to have good technique to stay efficient, because as a rower, I'm only 6 foot. Now, to be highly efficient at rowing, you need to be like 6'4", because you've just got those leverages that cost less energy to leverage through the resistance. So being tall, if you look at Olympic sports, rowing is in the height charts, rowing is second. So basketball is number one. By athlete size, basketball's number one, rowing's number two. So there's a reason why rowing is number two, because it's advantageous. So I obviously had to upskill enough as a 6 foot athlete to be able to produce that time to break the world record. So I go around the world now, delivering an ERG masterclass. It's a 3-hour kind of seminar, talk about everything ERGs, how to do it, how to train for it, and the best way to do it, basically. And then it's very interactive. So I produced this. So I've produced this graphic here. And as you can see, the green area is where you're going to be most efficient. And essentially, that's where your hips are most involved, because if your hips are involved, that means you can get your body weight involved. When you stood upright, you've got no leverage, basically. So you're up here, you've got nothing to kind of leverage against. So if I just did it upright, that means I'm using my arms. I've got no weight in my arms, very little strength. So up here is basically void, but people do go that high looking for extra length. And then down here, which I'll touch on in a minute. So this is kind of my 2K pace, but it would be exactly the same for my 5K, 10K pace. It just means how much force I'm putting through it. So when you catch the machine, your heels should come down, and you now almost instantly, so how much length I've lost. Okay, so I've only started to engage the machine. When you engage the machine, if you look at this force curve, straight away the force curve shoots to the ceiling. So that means that almost instantly I'm at what's called the peak force. Okay, so everything past this point, I'm never going to find any more force on the machine than here. So once I come through, I'll just do a couple. Okay, once I've come through, I'm now roughly about here, just under the 4, if you can't see my cursor. So everything past this point is now becoming a poorer return on investment. Okay. So, and that's twofold. One is that you're not going to get the power down there, and two, being in this position where you see people in a crouch or they go into a squat, that's time under tension with a really poor return on investment. So it's not useful. And if you look at the cross-country skier, he is not in this crouch for long at all, because it's detrimental to spending energy, basically. It's inefficient. So what we want to be doing is hit the machine, okay? We're connected to the machine. So my hands are at a right angle. It's now basically in my lats. It goes to the hips, and I'm bringing this flywheel down with my body weight. So like I am connected to the flywheel. I've caught it, and I'm bringing it down with my body weight. Once I'm past the peak, which is almost instant, see how it shoots to the ceiling? I now need to basically let go. I need to let go of the machine, because by trying to get more change out of it, by trying to get my money's worth out of the length, it's a poor return on investment, and it's highly fatiguing. And then it also costs you SPM. If it costs you SPM, it costs the flywheel going slower, which is then even harder to hit the flywheel on the next stroke. So you just want to hit it. This is sort of like 42, 44 cadence. You just want to keep hitting the green repeatedly and staying. So that's as far as I'll ever crouch. And in this is my 2K pace. With HYROX, it'll be less than this because I'm coming through with velocity, which means I have to go somewhere. But my HYROX pace, my 5K, 10K pace would be less than this. I would be even more upright, a bit like the cross-country skier. So yeah, this force curve can tell people a lot about what's going on. So if it's flat, it means that once you've left, the machine's not going to give you much back because you've not give it any energy. So once you've hit the machine, it can do work for you as you come up. So here, like now, I'm happy because I'm back up. So I'm happiest when I'm upright. Okay, so if I keep going down, and you see people, they keep the cord going in front of them, they end up in a squat, the massive crouch. It's just highly fatiguing. So then
which kind of brings me to the question about like the float technique, which I see being taught, especially I feel like to women a lot. And this puts everybody in such a far bent over position. And the arms are like completely straight up and down. Yeah. And there is no like angle to that. And they're in a very crouchy, squatted, bent in half position.
Yeah. So it's impossible to do that if you adopt this hinge technique.
Yeah.
So the float technique is basically up and then you're coming down in a squat and kind of like working with it like this.
Yeah.
The hinge technique, you've got to let go of it. And then basically the weirdest way I've ever described this, which still resonates best with me, is if you've got a dog chucker, right? You've got the mass is the ball. So when you flick it, the energy of the plastic is bowed. And once you kind of do this with it, the plastic continues to go for you. So it's almost like the plastic is doing the work for you. But what I tell people is you want your lats and arms to become the plastic. The handle, which is where it's actually coming from, is your hand. Well, although we don't want to use the hand. So here I've kind of used up all that kind of energy. Now what I'm going to do is stop, but let the arms and lats come through in kind of like a huge follow through. So there.
Where does foot placement kind of land in all this?
With foot placement, basically because you're in a hinge, a bit like the med ball slam scenario. Yeah. You want the ball or the mass of the flywheel, the energy of the flywheel, to come down roughly where that med ball would land. So the med ball is always going to land 6 to 10 inches in front of you. Okay. So therefore, the center of mass is now not where my feet are, but it's in between what I'm lent on to stop me going forwards, which is basically the flywheel. These handles are becoming this flywheel. So I'm aiming my center of mass to be about 6 to 10 inches in front of me, where the med ball would land. So as long as you feel comfortable throwing your mass down to a point, you're absolutely fine. So if I stood too far back, it would pull me forwards. The actual resistance of the flywheel will pull me forwards, and I couldn't get my mass down to the floor. And then if I stood too close, I wouldn't have enough room to throw my weight forwards because the hardware's in the way. So you just stand where you feel comfortable deploying this technique. And
where you don't slam your face on the ERG screen.
Yeah, you can't. Obviously, you need to give yourself room. But if I stood back now, couple of feet, or say like one full foot length back, or even a half foot length back,
what's no leverage?
Well, when I come down, the machine's going to actually pull me forwards because the center of mass wants to be in front of me. The distance between me and the erg is going to be wider so that it's actually in front of where I want it to go. So if I want it to go straight down here, but me and the machine are too far away, so the actual center of mass is beyond my remit, I'm going to get pulled forwards. And you'll see it on the machines. If you go hard enough and it's not weighted down, if you stand off the floor and you pulled it, the machine would upend because that's the machine pulling. You're pulling the machine. If the machine was fixed down, it will pull you forwards. So you just want to be comfortable putting your leverage down to the machine, putting your mass down to the machine.
I have a two-part question, unless you're about to go on with something right now.
I'll just show you the cross-country skier.
Yep.
So he, a bit like this force curve here, the power meter here. This is him holding a 145 for 2 hours, 28 minutes at 47 strokes per minute.
He's
So
tiny.
hinge dominant. He's just stroking the mid-range of the leverage. So I liken this to Matt Fraser's style. Matt Fraser is much more frantic than this guy. When he did that reel last week, he was very frantic. This guy's not actually frantic. This guy's more like what I would expect a HYROXer to be like. But he's very niche because he's a cross-country skier. What I would expect a HYROX person to look like would be something like this. Use your weight to advantage, using what God give you, basically, using your leverage, using your body weight, connecting well with the machine.
Do you think strength or just aerobic efficiency is more important when it comes to the ski? And what strength exercises may be like the best to implement to get better at the ski?
Yeah, strength's definitely part of it because at the end of the day, you're going through a resistance of the flywheel. So if you're stronger, you're going to have more. It's going to cost you less of your top end strength. And also just the ability to brace and connect with the machine is going to be increased because you're a stronger human. So you're going to, one of the worst faults I see is that when you start to hit the machine is that you haven't got the strength and the machine dominates you. So if you're trying to connect with the machine, but the flywheel is actually pulling you out of position, so your body goes, but the arms stay up. That's kind of like, that's not really any fault apart from you're unable to really connect with it. Like you're not able to bring the machine down with your body weight. It's kind of like it's dominating you. So strength is definitely important, a bit like it would be for the rest of the HYROX elements. And what was the other question, Ryan?
Just like what exercises could you do? I know I always think pull-up, like weighted pull-ups somehow translate really well to SkiErg.
Well, I'm a big believer that to get stronger, you get stronger as a human, and the humans work in push, pull, hinge, squat.
Yeah.
And so you just get stronger in general because say if you dominate your posterior, something else is going to be not as strong, and the body works as an ecosystem to connect everything together. So one of the big arguments for rowing and ski is people say, well, why would you say bench press is important? Well, to be good at bench, you have to have really strong lats.
You do.
The biggest benches in the world have the biggest pulls because their lats are so strong because they secure their shoulders so they can push. And it's a bit like this. Well, if I'm going to have a big bench, it means I've got big lats, which means I can then control the machine. So bench press, probably not so much shoulders, but it's all connected. In shoulders, you're going to get strong triceps, which is going to be important so you can control the dexterity of the cord, so it doesn't pull you out. Yeah, squats is going to be important because obviously you get your glute, your hammy, your quads, and your brace, which is the most important thing, I'd say. Deadlifts, highly important, posterior chain, locking in the lat so the bar doesn't pull you forwards. Pull-ups, definitely. The only one I would say is highly specific is a dumbbell pullover.
Oh, like laying on the
okay.
bench?
Yeah, where you're laying on the bench, or you've got a
Yeah.
machine where you're pulling it down. That's probably highly specific to what we're doing. That and an RDL is probably the top ones. Yeah.
Love
But
that.
I wouldn't focus on them. I would
Yeah.
get stronger as a human.
Yeah. I love that you just said bench press because that's my favorite upper body lift that I'm
Oh, nice.
secretly being discouraged to do less of. So now I can be like, hey, James said I should.
Well, it definitely means you're strong. If you can bench, it definitely means you're a strong.
That was my best. That's always been my best lift. So anyway, one question I do have too, to kind of piggyback off this, because of course, lots of info on swaps, substitutes. If you don't have a SkiErg, seeing a lot of straight arm lat pull downs being encouraged. Never agreed, if I'm being honest. So you kind of touched on it, just getting overall strong. There is probably not a direct substitution, is my doing a banded or double banded, basically pull down into a tricep extension is not going to help you really.
Not really. I mean, you could groove the movement pattern slightly, but you're not going to get the experience of the cardiovascular.
Yeah.
I mean, probably the closest would be getting a moderately heavy or a lightish med ball or a wall ball and hitting it on the floor, catching it and doing repeats of that. But obviously, you've got the logistical problem of, is it going to bounce right? Is it going to bounce to so that you're able to keep a good cadence? Or
right.
If you hit it down and it goes dead to the floor, it means you've got to pick it up, which is not what because you don't want to go down there.
Right.
But yeah, like I think you'd be hard pushed not to find a ski that you could do at least once a week.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Popular. Yeah.
So, I mean, you know what HYROX is. You know there's obviously a ton of running. The SkiErg and the row are a very small portion of the race itself. I think a lot of the athletes, not just the top end athletes, but the age groupers who are out there trying to PR their races, most people are spending quite a bit of their time training, obviously increasing their just aerobic capacity.
Yeah.
A lot of that aerobic capacity is spent on running. I'm curious, maybe your thoughts on how much aerobic volume should be spent on the ergs when it comes to HYROX, and if there is even a limit on like how much we can do with that.
Well, I think it's twofold or threefold. One is its specificity. So if you're getting on the ergs, you're making yourself more efficient. So therefore that will pay you back just in that. Practice makes perfect. And the more perfect you are, the more efficient you'll be. The second is it's off-feet conditioning. So it's fantastic to protect your joints and kind of not overload your knees or hips or things like that. And then one of the big benefits of it is that single modality work is, in my opinion, the gold standard for energy system development. I think too often you've seen a lot of good training from the Elite 15, but I think as it trickles down, everyone is they go with like HIIT classes and highly HYROX specific. So the trouble with that is if your body's constantly changing modalities, it can't ever find enough rhythm or enough efficiency to really develop your energy system or your aerobic capacity. Because say if I was trying to measure my max heart rate and you gave me running, I probably couldn't reach my max heart rate running. because I'm highly inefficient. So what would give out is my local muscular endurance. Right. It would give out well before my heart would. Okay. Mm-hmm. And say I haven't rowed for 6 months, I wouldn't be able to do it on a rower either, because my arms would give out, the local mitochondria would give out before my heart and lungs do. So when you become highly proficient at a machine, you can just keep pushing and pushing and pushing your heart, which is going to develop your energy systems. But obviously specificity for your specific race is going to be important, but it is a very useful tool to do single modality work. And your options are, running. You've got to get highly proficient at running, obviously. Cycling, good off feet. And then you're looking at, a lot of guys are actually doing the stepper for low zone 2 kind of work as well. I would probably favor like cycling or, but then, the ERGs are obviously well up there with modalities that you can spend time getting fit. But
just to piggyback off that, for the listeners, I have not done a single simulation, period. Yeah. That's it. That I just ran 2 of the fastest times of the whole season. I'm just gonna mic drop that real quick. Sims are not how you get better at this. No. Steady heart rate increases over time, threshold training over time. When you do a HYROX race, we're having spikes, dips, because we're flowing through multiple different types of both energy systems are being worked. Different muscles are being worked. So again, like the local mitochondria, depending on what movement you're doing, is working versus the other, upper versus lower, etc. And that's for long term, not how you're going to keep increasing your capacity. I think it's good to sometimes for beginners who don't understand the demand of that and need to get a little bit used to those, spikes and peaks and valleys of heart rate and intensity, but long term. So even James is agreeing that probably not the best way to do this sport.
Well, you see in one of the inherent problems of A, gyms, and B, coaching is that it's deemed boring to just give single modality work. So if you walked into a big franchise group training gym, I'll use the biggest in recent history, F45. Yeah. Imagine walking into an F45 and saying, today, guys, we've got 10 1Ks on the rower. Enjoy.
No one would come back.
No. But that is the best way to get fit.
100%.
If you did that for 6 weeks nonstop, your CV system would absolutely develop like anything. But the trouble with, and I'm not dissing F45, it's an inherent problem, and it's a design fault almost, is that people want to go and be entertained. And entertaining means 45 seconds change, 45 seconds change. And it's like, you're not actually training, you're just getting tired.
We're just burning calories.
You're just burning calories. You're not actually training, because changing modality too often is detrimental. So you can pick 2 or 3 movements and get a stimulus, but when you're up to like 7, 8, you kind of just, that's when it turns into a HYROX, like the sim scenario. You just kind of, that's when you perform. Is then to train, you want to narrow it down and be more specific or less modalities.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great information right there. What about specific warm-up protocols for something like the SkiErg? Because that, for me, going into a HYROX, obviously I want to do very little sled work before the race, just kind of maybe push it for 5 meters, 10 meters. Same with lunges. Don't want to do not a ton of wall balls. But
I would actually say 0 of all of that. Just saying.
Right. You could definitely do none.
This should be only really aerobic.
But like the ski being the first station, that is one thing I want to make sure is primed and ready to go before the race.
I think that's the key is you just need to, if you're going to get there, and you're going to get there obviously first, you just don't want it to feel alien for the first 200 meters. So doing a couple of 30-second moderate intensity efforts as you warm up on the ski is definitely gonna be helpful. Yeah. You wouldn't need to. You could definitely use the ski as one of the things to get warm. Or you could go 30-second ski,
Gotcha.
a bit of run, but everything else really should. By the time you've got to other things, you should be warm enough. And priming past the SkiErg probably isn't going to help.
Yeah,
like a bit of muscle memory for things like like a row or burpees, just to get your head into it more than anything is.
Mm-hmm.
What you got, Meg?
For the row, so I think we did a lot on the ski, and I think the row is in an interesting place of the race, and that I think also is an area where people in HYROX, essentially the message is kind of you want to recover on the row. You don't want this to be, even though typical rowing is very leg drive based, you want to save a bit of that because we're coming up on we're more than halfway through. So our legs are pretty fatigued at this point. And we want to maximize the running as much as possible. So I think our approach on the row is much different even than on the ski, where I think we're working at a little bit of a higher capacity on the ski because it's the first station. But then on the rower, like as an example, if I'm usually at about 95% of 5K on the ski, which is what I follow, I'm actually much slower than that on the rower. So why don't you kind of go into why that's important? Because I think a lot of people think like, well, I do a 152 average for the 5K, so that's what I should hold in the race. But I think the ski is a lot more upper body dominant. That's the mitochondria more being used than your legs. And the row is the opposite. So kind of the science behind why that might be a smarter technique.
Yeah, definitely. I would say you've got to take some off the row. It says it's actually if you look, well, I think rowing's about I think they've worked it out that you use 88% of your muscles. So it's a highly demanding activity. And then I would advocate just good technique. Getting the drag factor right is going to be key, because a bit like the SkiErg, if you're trying to leverage front to back through a thick, heavy flywheel, that is more time under tension. Mm-hmm. So you want the ratio of work to rest to favor you. So to get that ratio better, a lighter drag means you can just get through quicker. So even if you want to hold the same pace, I would advocate get through quicker. Say you want to hold a 150, get through quicker, recover harder. Get through quicker, recover harder. Because that getting through quicker is less time under tension.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's what I would advocate. So to talk numbers, like this is where people don't, they're really, really surprised when I give them my drag factor numbers for my world record 1K. So if you look at rowing, there's actually a standardized drag factor for most Olympic teams, like Team GB, Team Australia. They'll say your 2K test, which is one of the performance tests that they actually will select a boat for. So you're not going to get near a boat unless you can provide a decent 5K or a 2K. It's not the only metric. If someone was a far superior water rower, that they might favor that, but you need to demonstrate you've got the physiology to perform in regattas. So yeah, the standardized drag is about 130 for men. I think it's 120 for women, which is about 4.5 on the rower for most rowers. And then you think, oh, your 1K, you've obviously gone up to 10 or you're at 8. My 1K was done at 140 drag, which was about a 5.5. Mm-hmm. And the reason is that what I've just said basically is that when I'm getting to about 700 meters where the lactic is starting to sting, the last thing I want to do for that 1 minute remaining is to stay on the resistance more than I need to, because the longer I'm on that resistance, the more fatiguing it's going to be, the further backwards I'm going to go. So yes, I could get to 700 meters at drag 180, but if I get there, I've then got a whole minute of 180 drag. 180 is probably about number 8. I've then got a whole minute to fight through that drag. So that means that I'm under tension a lot longer. So I get less recovery time if I want to keep the SPM up.
Yep.
So that's what I'd say is keep it nice and through. So you're out of the resistance. Take a nice deep breath. And then you're coming and you want to use leverage. So length is important. So you want to get nice and reach forwards and then a nice swing back. So there is a sequence. It goes legs, hips, arms. And a lot of people will bypass that. They'll lean back and completely miss out. Now, the trouble with doing that, so if people say, it doesn't really matter, if you take your hinge out of it, so if you're coming to the machine and then before you say this is the handle, if you take your hinge out of it before you engage the fiber, so this is extremely common. You're coming forward, you lean back, and then you engage.
Yeah.
The trouble with that is you've made it 100% legs.
Yeah.
So therefore, you've only got your knees left. If you've taken your hinge out of it, you've only got your knees. So what you actually want to do is reach forward, extend your knees, and then you can really up the speed with the hinge. But if you've taken the hinge out of it, you're kind of doing yourself a disservice. So a huge argument online is it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, because then if you're doing bad technique, you're actually just in your knees more, which means your quads are going to fire less.
Yeah.
For the rest of the race. So yeah.
I think I see a lot of there's a lot of we're not doing this little motion. A lot of people stay completely forward. Heels are coming completely to our asses, coming completely to our heels, which to me, I just from a lifting or kind of this is removing you from the power position is always my thought process with that. So you're like doing this extra movement that is getting you no actual gain and actually seems like it's taking you out of the power position from the legs. Yeah. But what about stroke rate? Because again, this is another one where it's like, people are like, you should be doing a 22 stroke rate for HYROX. And here I am on the rower, at like a 31, 30,
oh, really?
31. Yeah. And I think that's a lot more, and at least for me, it feels a lot more efficient. And I've done it slower in the past in different HYROX races, and it feels a lot different now than
so
then.
If you're highly experienced, and obviously you are, so you've got history of how many races?
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah. So you know what number works for you. Now, if you know you want to hold a 155, but you're then being told, hold a 155, which is obviously you're going to get off at the same time, but I want you to go down to a 22. That just means for you, you're going to have to put so much in more per stroke than you at 30. So like if you're favoring going lighter, but more often, and that works for you, you can get off, great, off I go. Whereas if you're saying, no, slow down, you're going to have to reach forward and really, and then recover. So if you know your pace, what I would say is just hold the pace what feels most comfortable. Now, where we put the RowErg is similar to the ski, around that 5-10K pace, which is about 2K plus 10. You will find that most people will be about 26 to 28 on average.
Okay.
Yeah. So 31 is slightly towards a 2K pace. But if that's working for you because you feel lighter on the machine, that's fine. Yeah. And obviously, who's to argue? This is one of the key points I've got is it's working for you. It works for Hunter. It works for people. But then people are coming along and saying, you do this. And they say, well, if it's working for the elite, if it's working for the RowErg world record holder, the SkiErg world record holder, the SkiErg marathon world record holder, the HYROX champion. Why would you argue against it?
Yeah.
And yes, there's arguments for and against, but sometimes you just have to look at what people are doing. And there's everyone's saying, "Oh, they're outliers," but are they? They're the world's best.
Right.
Why would they be an outlier at the world's best?
Yeah.
It's gonna be nearly right for most people. That's what I would say, anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting.
This might be a silly question, but the drag factor, I've been told that there's many things that can affect that, like dust in the flywheel and all that stuff. What are and I'm no erg mechanic, but like, what are the chances, we're all coming into the SkiErg, there's 50 of them, there's 50 rowers.
Oh my God. Are you doing a conspiracy theory right now?
Is there consistency across these rowers? Because I guarantee they're not going before the race and checking to make sure they're all equal. Yeah. Like, how
the chances? Yeah. So what's technically happening is the blade is, with no dust on it, is a nice, smooth, but pointy object that's going to catch air. Okay. Mm-hmm. So a brand new machine is always going to measure the best drag because it's got no interference. So every new machine should be exactly the same drag. Okay. As it ages, things happen to the internals, the cord, the bearings, but the most important one is the dust. So what the dust does is it clumps onto the machine, onto the blade, and it blunts it. So you've no longer got a sharp cut through the air. You've now got dust there, so it's less sharp. So it's not catching as much air because it's dull. The blade has now become dull.
We're going to have people on podcasts being like, my rower had more dust than yours, and that's why I was slower.
And
here we go.
The beauty of HYROX is that they're not always going to be brand new machines, but you'd expect them all to be the same age. And when they get to probably 3 or 4 years, you'd expect them to be like, they're getting a bit worn. Let's get rid of these and let's get fresh. So the chances of you getting a machine with a massive variance of what you'd be used to, that actually the biggest danger is you've been training in your gym that hasn't cleaned their erg for about 10 years. And I've experienced this. And number 6 might actually be about a number 1. Because if it's so, and I've been on a machine where number 10 is only about 100 drag, which is about a number 2 on a machine. Mm-hmm. So if I've been training at number 10 because I think that, I can get through this, it's not a problem. It might not be a problem at number 10 because it's only giving you 100 drag. But you come into HYROX and you whack it onto 10 because that's what you've done all your training. And that machine at number 10 is reading 220. Now you've got a problem. So you're right. Because the rower so bloody hard. Yeah. Well, you've actually just rowed double the drag that you've used to because you've been rowing on a shocking machine. But I'd safely say that if your machine at home was looked after, that it would be very similar to the HYROX one. I'd say within 10%.
Yeah.
Which isn't going to matter.
Which is interesting because when I do have a newer rower, and when I do a lot of work on it, I tend to have to go a little bit lower than where I actually sit in the race. So this is clearly the reason. It's the drag factor is much tougher.
It'd be interesting to hear how often they do change them out. What concept?
Yeah, I'm just hoping that they're working when I get there at that point.
So at the Indoor Rowing World Champs Concept 2, they use fresh ergs and then they do a post-event sale at like 20% off.
Oh, that's smart.
Because they want absolute fairness, they'll give everyone a brand new rower. Because and to be fair, the beauty of indoor rowing is you'll turn up and you'll actually get a chance to have a look at the drag factor. So you'll get there, you'll sit on your machine, you go options, more options, display drag factor. You'll give it a few strokes and it will produce. It will tell you what drag it's at.
Yeah.
And then you can set it accordingly. So at home, you might be on a 4. At the new venue, you might only be on a 3.5. The trouble with HYROX is you don't get that opportunity because you don't know which machine you're going to be on, and you can't exactly. I mean, you definitely could sit down and go more options, display drag factor, and then give it a look at that. Yeah,
it's probably going to hurt your overall time a little bit, but
probably.
Just a little.
But if it matters to you, then you could.
Interesting. Ryan, you got anything else? This has been extremely informative, and I'm very happy that we can give this to our community. I think the beautiful part about the RMR community is that we have a very big base of clients who are very invested in really improving themselves. And efficiency is important. So I think that's really awesome that we had you on and that you could give some of those tips. And also because not everybody can run 6-7 days a week like some of us, Kent and myself, who've been doing it for 20 years at this point. A lot of people use the ERGs for their easy zone 2 work. So even that has been very interesting hearing your perspective on that as well. Thank you,
James.
And I
is
guess,
there? Do you want to plug your coaching business, whatever?
So
whatever you want to plug, you this is your opportunity.
I'll just
find him on the gram. That's where I found him.
Well, I'll just tell people about what I do. So I'm open to invites to gyms to host my ERG seminar. So you can acquire through my website. All my links are either on Linktree or my website. I do offer coaching. I offer with people who want to get better on the ERGs and/or strength. I mean, my strength numbers are not too shabby.
That adds up.
I've got a 220 bench, which is nearly 500 pounds. 300 squat, which is 600-700 maybe, I don't know. And then deadlift 320 kilos. So I enjoy coaching strength, ergs, and hybrid performance. And then if you look at my Linktree, I also offer an hour Zoom. So you send me your videos ahead of time. I can give you some feedback there and then. We can chat about training, how to get better. And then I also offer programs, like off-the-shelf programs. If you look on the Linktree, there's an app called ERG Zone, which is a very good app. It syncs the program direct to the PM5. So you just come along, session 1, week 1, sync it to the PM5, off you go. You'll get the data back and you progress through the program. Hopefully that will get you a world record 2K or 1K at the end of it.
That's awesome. I need like a lightweight division record list.
I think it's like sub 55 for you or something.
Okay.
Kilo, so it's like 100.
I got a couple I gotta lose. I gotta lose a few. All right. Cool. Very cool.
I've got a question. Do you know Matt Locke?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Matt's my Australia kind of big dog, big cheese. He wants to know, Meg.
Oh boy. Am I in trouble?
Hopefully no questions for me.
Your thoughts on the athlete licenses and doping controls. You haven't heard her talk about it much. Interesting to hear her thoughts. P.S. What a weapon.
I like the P.S. part.
Well, I don't really know.
We actually did talk about this on a pod.
Well, just refer
a while ago. Yeah. Yeah.
I just had my first P test. My first P test a few weeks ago in Chicago. They were waiting for me when I got done. They did basically, I guess what they're doing is every athlete who has an athlete license, they're trying to get you at your first race that you show up to.
They're trying to get you. They're trying to get you.
To kind of baseline you.
I think so.
So this is the first season that they've started doing like out of elite race testing. And we just saw this be implemented, I think just in the last
Yeah.
month and a half.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, great steps forward. The other thing I wanted to actually make a note of also was that they sent an elite judge, not just a head judge, an elite head judge to Madrid to specifically watch me. So I think everything is moving in a really fantastic direction, and I appreciate that. Now, I've seen some reels of other elite athletes, people being like, wow, this guy's getting away with nothing. I just want to make it clear. This has been happening since I've never not had a head judge follow me the entirety of any race that I've ever done, double, single. So I want to just make it clear they've always done that. And that has, at least for me. So I've always found that to be extremely positive for the sport, that there is a certified head judge following me, making sure every single thing I do is clean. But now they're even sending an even higher level judge to the regular races to make sure, especially because the qualification times are a thing. They matter. It's really, really hard, and they don't want people getting away with anything. I've always held myself as a leader of the sport to the absolute highest level, regardless. But I thought that was just a tip of the hat to them that they specifically sent somebody out, not just a Spain head judge, but also an elite HYROX head judge. So I think everything is really moving in a great direction. And I really appreciate that, because I think for Kent, myself, and I mean, James, I know you get this, and it's probably really frustrating for you in your world, is there's a lot of information being put out there. A lot of the time, the videos that are about form are being taken of our everyday athletes, not the elite. And I can assure the community, the elite are being held to the highest standards possible. Like I said, I get away with absolutely not a centimeter, out there. So, I know there's a lot on social media that gets blown up about, wall ball standards or burpee standards or whatever. At the top of the game, the people that are doing this professionally, who are earning livings from this, we are being held to very high standards. So I just want to always give HYROX that shout out, because I do think that they're working on this every year. It's getting better. But when you have over 1 million participants worldwide, this is going to be a difficult thing that they'll probably always deal with regarding the regular participants. So let's give them a little bit of credit for that. The people that are in the top and that are fighting for those spots, we're being held accordingly, as we should be. So,
you got any plans to come to Australia?
I actually specifically James, are you doing Melbourne?
I'm doing Melbourne. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, it seems like we're gonna keep getting an APAC major race, which is fair. So maybe at some point, but
was it Brisbane last time?
They did it at Hong Kong last year, so this is the first Australian major. But
because the pros are there. Yeah, you're not obviously coming. No, you're not.
No, so my second time was past the cutoff. Yeah. But it's tough, because I mean, for me, and I'm sure you can understand as a parent, with it being like so close to the holidays, and my daughter has a lot of stuff going on at school, that would have been a tough, regardless for me, situation. So that's a trek.
It's a long way away, man. It is a long way away.
We're in the twilight zone. He's a whole day ahead. This is
crazy.
This is like a weird. You're in the future. Awesome. Well, we really appreciate your time, and we look forward to hearing how you do in Melbourne.
Don't expect much.
Wait, are you going to go solo, or are you teaming up again?
No, I'm doing it with a member.
Oh, cool.
Rose.
Nice.
We've got matching outfits a lot, so it's I'm there for fun.
Nice. You wearing a matching sports bra, or are you guys doing that? Yeah.
I'm in budgie smugglers.
There you go.
I've got an eye on doing a pro, just to kind of put myself through it. The trouble I've got is I'm nearly 40 now, and I've got a lot of mileage in my knees and shoulders from rugby, and yeah, that's why erging suits me. When I retired from professional rugby, I went into erging mainly because my knee, I had a huge operation on my knee. They had to basically saw it and realign it. It's called a high tibial osteotomy. And so I fell into the SkiErg because it was low tax. And then just kept getting, I'm close to this time. I'll go after that time. I'll go after this time. And then it led me down this path. But then I'm trying to get a resurgence. So I'm trying to drop a bit of weight at the moment and be a bit more nimble on my feet. But it's the challenge I enjoy. I enjoy putting myself forward to a race and thinking, well, I've got to get there in reasonable condition. But
yeah.
We'll have to have you back on and dive into your past life a little bit. But clearly you've got an aerobic background that is translating to the ergs.
Yeah, well, I was a swimmer until I was 14, like national standard swimmer. My little brother, who's huge, we were both swimmers. That's where our background was. And then I went to rugby because I got fed up of staring at the bottom of a pool. He went to bodybuilding and strongman. And it served me well because the aerobic capacity is huge. I mean, I'm deemed as a sprinter, but I'm not a sprinter. I'm not actually anywhere near close to the world's best sprinters. There's a couple of guys. I'm probably like top 5, but there's a couple of guys.
What's considered a sprint?
A sprint's 100, 1 minute 500.
Okay.
And that is because it's over, like you've got to get that flywheel going. Even on the 500, it's all about top end speed because you've got to get you've got to make as biggest advantage as you can before the lactic hits. And then you've got to be fit enough to survive about 20 seconds.
Sure.
So some guys, like there's a guy who can hold a 59. He sees a 59. So where you say like 120 something, he sees a 59. The best I've ever seen is a 103. So my 500 pace, my absolute best is about a 111. The world record's 109. And to find those 2 seconds, my top end speed have to improve so much. But my speciality is hanging on to the lactic threshold. So 1K, everything past about 2 minutes or anything past about 1:30 is absolute torture. And you've just got to dig in. And the 2K, so I've got sub 6 on both the RowErg and the SkiErg. A 6 minute is not an anaerobic effort. So the amount of work to put in to survive a 2K is huge. So yeah, I've got a big engine. I just can't manipulate myself around a HYROX track. That's the only trouble.
Well, we can't do 6 minute 2Ks. So,
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys.
Cool.
Cheers.
See you guys next week.